Welcome to Industrial Engineering and Management, MEE 1014, Lecture 1, Introduction to Economics. My name is Sugumaran, Professor in Mechanical Engineering, VIT Chennai. Objectives. At the end of this lecture, you should be able to define what is economics. Also, you will be able to understand what is macroeconomics, what is microeconomics. Fine. Before going to the topic, first things first, let us clarify ourselves why we should learn industrial engineering and management. If you take a survey of the subjects that we study as part of BTech and how much that is useful, the technical subjects that we study, and how much that is useful in the industry, and draw a pie chart, it will look something like this, where your technical subjects that you have learned will be useful to an extent of 20%. And the soft skill, normally not taught in the engineering colleges. Of course, now you have soft skill classes, but how well you are able to cope up with the team, how well you are able to lead a team, all that forms about 30% of your skill set that you will be using it on a day-to-day life. Major piece of cake comes from the knowledge that you have on industrial engineering and managerial skills, about 45%, and other miscellaneous skills about 5%. People will agree from manufacturing sector, assembly sector, production sector, that this pie chart is more or less applicable for their own industry. Well, what is economics? Let me start with a story. Everybody likes a story, so we'll start with a story. Long, long ago, there was a king, young king. He would like to, rule his country very well and make it very prosperous. So he looked other countries, prosperous countries, and went country after country and inquired the kings. I am, newly taken charge of my country as a king. I would like to lead my country well. If that is the case, what is the subject I should learn well? Many of the kings told, if you want to rule your country very well, then you should be very strong in economics. The king understood, compiled the subjects, and out of that the major one is economics. So he decided come back to his own country, and he decided to learn economics very well. So he called his ministers and asked to collect as much amount of material as possible on economics, so that he can learn and become a scholar, so that he will be able to rule his country very well, make the country very prosperous. The ministers started working on it. Year after year, they collected volumes of material on economics, and they made big collection of volumes they brought to the king after about 20 years time. They took 20 years time to collect so much of material on economics. By the time the king is little old, it's about 60 years old. So king said, see, now I am little old. I cannot read such huge volume of books that you have brought. Do one thing, kindly take the essence of that and give it to me in small books. There were 18 ministers, and give me one book, probably I will be able to understand. Another 10 years they took to reduce the big volume of material they have collected into 18 books. By the time the king is 70 years old, he cannot read such a big book, that is to 18 books. So he told the ministers, no, now I am very old, I cannot read a book. So you make it into 18 small booklets, but see that the essence is not missed. Again, the ministers worked for another 10 years. They came back. By the time the king is bedridden. So when they approached the king, he's almost in the evening of his life. He told, no, I am not in a position to read even booklet now. You tell me in one sentence what is economics. Let me understand and die. So the ministers took one day time. They sat back and took the essence of economics and put their understanding of so many years of research into single sentence. And that sentence is, there is no free lunch. Economics is all about this phrase, there is no free lunch. If you want something, you have to give something. There is always a cost attached to any benefit that you expect from. So cost and benefit go hand in hand. There is no free lunch. Nobody offers you free lunch. That is the essence of economics. I don't know whether the king fully understood, but as an engineer, we should understand what is economics, especially what is microeconomics, and make use of this understanding on our day-to-day life as a practicing engineer so that we will become successful engineer. In the upcoming couple of lectures, wherever appropriate, I'll try to relate the economics topic to this particular phrase called there is no free lunch. Make it appropriate later. What is economics? Is it a study of money? No. Is it something to do with savings? No. Since we talked about there is no free lunch, is it something about eating lunch? No, not at all. Then what is economics? Economics is the study of how one chooses to use the scarce resources that have alternative uses to satisfy the wants or needs which are varying degree of importance. I have just read this, what is there on the slide, but there are 2-3 important keywords that needs special attention. In a shorter form, we can say economics is the study of the use of scarce resources that have alternative uses. Of course, the other sentence is also important. We will take the important keywords and explain one by one. Scarce resources. What is meant by scarce resources? Uh, you know, suppose you wanted to you wanted to do something. You want some inputs for that. If that input is available in abundance, plenty, there is no scarcity of it, then it is not a subject matter of economics. If there is a scarcity for the input or the source that you have or the resource that you have, then it comes under the purview of economics. Condition number 1, scarcity of resources. Number 2, I have a resource, it can be used for only one use, then it is not subject matter of economics. I have a resource, let's say I have a money, I have alternate uses. I can use that money to pay my house rent, to use it for my medical purpose, to pay my son's or daughter's college fees. I can use that money for a vacation. I can use it for paying my pension scheme. Alternative uses. Then the money is, we call it as alternative uses. A resource which has alternative uses. Any resource for that matter, not only money. For example, you have rice. You make a dough out of it. You can make idli, you can make dosa, you can make onion dosa, you can make masala dosa. Many alternate uses you have. Okay. So any commodity or any item that you take, if it has alternative uses and it is scarce, then definitely it is a subject matter of economics. When we have alternative uses, If all of them are of same importance, then economics is of very less use for us. It should be of varying importance. For example, I have some resource. If I put it in scheme A, it fetches me some profit, some benefit. I put it on scheme B, it fetches me some benefit. That benefit should be different. If I put in scheme A, scheme B, scheme C, it is going to fetch the same amount of benefit. Then there is no use of economics applying to such a problem. The role of economics is not there. The role of economics comes, you have multiple alternatives and they are having varying degree of importance. Then it becomes a subject matter of economics. So when you say I have uh, alternative uses, more than one to choose from, and I have to choose, and they have different returns, different benefits for me, then there comes a decision making process. I have more than one choices. I have to choose only one out of it. Okay, so there comes a decision making process. How do we make decisions? The decisions that we make should be rational. What is meant by rational? It should be logical. Logical means it's not arbitrarily chosen. There should be a logic behind your decision, and it is acted objectively, no subjectivity involved. Clearly, objectively, you logically you take a decision. That decision you call it as a rational decision. Okay, so next, the decision that you make should be economical. Already we introduced a term. We are trying to define a term called economics. Another term, economical. Economical means I have uh, I have some input. I'm investing it in scheme A, scheme B, scheme C, where I can invest less and get more. That we call it as economical. Technically, we do cost benefit analysis. Cost is the input that we invest on the scheme. Benefit is the output or return that we get from the scheme or business or any activity for that matter. Okay. So we do a cost benefit analysis. Cost benefit analysis deals with inputs and outputs. So I have some resources, that is input. I invest my resources on various schemes intelligently and get benefits. How I invest? I decide logically, objectively, and economically. I decide which alternative I can use my resource and properly use my resource and make good benefit out of it. So I do a cost benefit analysis and then I make a choice out of many choices available to me which are of varying importance, because many choices, that's what alternative uses, which for which I am taking this decision. I am taking this decision for a scarce resource. So to sum up, I have resource which is scarce in nature, which have alternative uses with varying degree of importance. Varying degree of importance choices I take, I choose one or two depending upon, I make a choice, I make decision, I take decision rationally and economically using cost benefit analysis. That subject matter we call it as economics. To sum up, revisit the definition again. Now you will be able to understand. Economics is the study of how one chooses to use scarce resources that have alternative uses to satisfy the wants or needs which are of varying degree of importance. The short form of that is economics is the study of use of scarce resources that have alternative uses. I hope that is clear. Okay. Next question that comes to us is economics. Okay, sir, I am an engineer. Why I should learn economics? The first point is to decide to produce or not to produce. I was working in a very reputed private company before taking up the teaching position. There, the company uh, was producing telephones, not the mobile phones that we use today. I'm talking about 1998, 2000, those period. It was telephones, DOT phones. So that touch button type telephones we used to produce, sell it throughout the India and make profit out of it. Okay. The amount of overhead, the amount of money that we spend, input resources that we spend is more than the profit that we made in the company. Because of that, instead of instead of producing profit, we were incurring loss for a few years. So management of that company took a decision for 3 months we don't produce anything so that we don't have to sell anything. So 3 months we sat back, simply idle in the company, not producing single telephone, not dispatched a single telephone, and the loss that we made is less compared to the time when we were producing telephones. Sometimes not producing the goods is a better decision than producing it. But how to decide that? You should have a thorough knowledge of economics. You should know how to do costing. You should know the demand and supply of the market dynamics, and the price variations, the price and the logistics. All that you should know to make a decision whether to produce the goods or not to produce the goods in your company. As an engineer, I should have a thorough knowledge of economics so that I will be able to take that decision. Suppose I don't know economics, I'm technically sound. So I simply go, I manufacture my telephone to the best technical competency possible. Maybe I'll produce it and start selling it. If I don't know economics, sometimes I will incur loss in spite of your high technical competency and low cost that manufacturing cost is low. As an engineer, all we can do is manufacturing cost can be brought down, by using superior techniques, isn't it? So just by being an engineer, you may not be able to decide whether to produce or not if you don't have the knowledge of economics. So you should learn economics very well, and then you will be in a better position to decide to produce or not to produce a goods for a company. Point number one. Point number two, to decide how much to produce and to decide the price. They go hand in hand, point 2 and 3. This is called demand and supply dynamics. It's a market dynamics they call. The price is fixed based on the demand that it has in the product. You may be aware the tomato price sometimes per kg will be only 5 rupees. Sometimes per kg of tomato will be 80 rupees, 90 rupees in the vegetable market. Why? In the season time, there will be a large number of tomatoes produced, and that comes in lorries, bundle of tomatoes come. There is no buyers. The demand is less compared to the supply. Supply is very high. I would rather say supply is very high compared to the demand that we have. At that time, what happens to the price? If you have so much of goods to deliver and there are only few buyers, uh, naturally people will not be interested in buying at a higher price. The price of the goods all started coming down. So the price in the market is basically fixed by the demand it has for the product in the market. Okay, you may as well know how the gold price is fixed in the market. There is an online market. People buy and sell gold. If there are more buyers in the market, the price will go up. And if there are more sellers in the market, the price will come down. That online price at a specific time is taken and used for day-to-day commercial transaction of jewelries in the specific countries, right? So basically, the price of the product is decided by the market. The market, I mean, the dynamics between the demand and supply. And that demand and supply is subject matter of economics. How much to produce as a company, I have to decide in order to make profit. So, uh, you know, of course, tomato, it may be seasonal. I cannot grow at any point of time. So there is a season at that time only I have to cultivate. You may not have much choice. But as a company, manufacturing certain product, I have full control over my production. If I know what is exactly my demand in the market for my product, I produce only so much and sell it to the market. I will be able to demand that price what it deserves. Suppose I don't know economics. I simply produced more because my efficiency is more, my productivity is more, my production capacity is more, whatever reason, I simply produced so much of goods and I dumped in the market. Then naturally, people will not be interested in buying the product at the market price. The price of our commodity will come down because the supply is more than the demand that we have in the market. So you should forecast what is the demand for your product and produce only so much so that your price is saved. One aspect of it. Like that, there are various aspects. You will be able to make such decisions, big decisions, policy decisions, sitting in the vice president's rank or general manager, manufacturing or plant head rank. You will be able to make such choices only if you know this economic subject very well. Then, point 4, to decide a make or buy decision. What is make or buy decision? In the reputed company where I was working, the overheads, the marketing expenditure, the ambience that we use in the assembly unit, it's fully air conditioned unit. The wages are very high for the employees of those companies because the reputation of the company that matters. So looking at the cost of manufacturing for one telephone, the assembly cost alone, let us say it comes to about 10 rupees. Okay. So if I make that product in my company, the cost of that product is 10 rupees. The same components, I give it to approved subcontractor. There will be a small companies around the company in few kilometers radius. They take the material from us. They do the assembly in their company. They are not big companies. They are small companies. The wages that they pay will be a little less for their employees. And cost of manufacturing for that particular telephone, per telephone, for them, it will be only 5 rupees. If I make the same product, cost of manufacturing per telephone will be 10 rupees. The same telephone, if they assemble, according to their overhead and their infrastructure that they have, the expenditure, all that they calculate, cost of assembly for one unit will come only 5 rupees. So if they take and do, they will be able to give us for 5 rupees. If I manufacture the same telephone in my factory, I have to spend 10 rupees. As an engineer, you have to decide, or as a manager, you have to decide whether it is wise to buy from such subcontractors, giving the raw material to them, or make your own products in your own company. So such make or buy decisions, if you want to make, you should know costing very well, the time study, work study, or the overhead cost, how that comes, how the dynamics of all the components of cost playing role in making your production cost. A complete knowledge about all that is necessary in order to make such decisions. So as an engineer, we should learn economics very well. Now, having said what is economics, there are two major branches of economics. One is macroeconomics, the other one is microeconomics. Macroeconomics deals with the aggregate economics at a larger level, often deals with policy decisions. It may be for a country, macroeconomics can be talked for a country. Whereas microeconomics is about how individuals take decisions on their day-to-day life. you can talk microeconomics for businesses, for an individual person, or small sectors, or even for a smaller organizations. You can talk about microeconomics. As an engineer, if you are not a politician after your graduation, mostly you will be using the concepts learnt in microeconomics very well. By any chance, if you become a politician, then you may need more knowledge about the macroeconomics. However, yeah, a glimpse of what is macroeconomics is covered in the next lecture, but rest of 3 4 lectures or 5 lectures are dedicated to microeconomics. Industrial engineering and management is the subject, and that mostly relates or very relevant topic is all topics are all coming under microeconomics, so we'll be dealing more of microeconomics topics. As an economist, I have two roles to play, either as a scientist or as a policymaker. When we try to explain how world is behaving, I become a scientist. When I dictate how the world should behave, then I become a policymaker. Both these roles are played by economists. And so this analysis correspondingly they call descriptive analysis and prescriptive analysis. The positive statements that describe the world are called descriptive analysis. The normative statements that dictates the world how the world should be are called prescriptive analysis. These are all the analysis people do in economics. Summary. In today's lecture, we introduced the course and we defined what is economics. We also differentiated what is macroeconomics and microeconomics. And we said what is the role of positive statement and normative statement, or positive analysis and normative analysis in economics. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.